Welcome everybody to this week's Business Resources Update Zoom meeting. I think we've got a good, very good agenda for you all. Got some speakers here. We have a speaker here from the SBA, one from Heritage Bank, and then also one from the King County Library System. And then that's on top of our normal community stakeholders here, Casey Bray with the Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce, Doug Lean, Economic Development Manager for the city of Auburn. And generally we have Taryn Hornby with the Green Rivers SBC Small Business Center, but unfortunately she had a family emergency come up earlier today, I'm told, and so won't be joining us. But nonetheless, I'm going to get going. Just a couple quick housekeeping items. Everybody, as they enter, should automatically be placed on mute. If you've taken yourself off mute, please put yourself back on. And at the end, we're going to go over some question and answer so that you can ask any questions that you might have of any of us and the speakers as well. And at that point, we'll go ahead and unmute you. So that said, we'll get started. Our first speaker is Cynthia Comwell. She's with the SBA. Cynthia is the Public Information Officer with the SBA's Office of Disaster Assistance. She started with the agency as a loan processor after Hurricane Katrina in 2005. She lives in the Sacramento area now, but did spend many years in Central Washington. So with that, Cynthia, I'm going to turn it over to you to provide your update from the SBA.
Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Cynthia Cowell. I'm with the Small Business Administration Office of Disaster Assistance, and I'm here to offer information about the economic injury disaster loans that are available through the SBA. Excuse me. These loans are made directly from SBA. You apply online. At present, the online portal is closed until funding is restored. And but once a business wants to apply, they can go to the portal at covid19relief.sba.gov, and they can get into the application portal. It's a very quick application. It only takes maybe 10 minutes. Now, a lot of businesses applied prior to March 29th, and that's the date that we opened the new streamlined portal. If your business starts with a 2, you will need to reapply if you haven't already. If it starts with a 3, you're good. You're in process right now. And during the lull in funding, we have been processing applications, and we'll be able to offer loans and provide the emergency advance funds once funding is restored. The emergency advance is up to $10,000 for a business. It's based on $1,000 per employee, and that is a waivable loan, meaning that if you spend it for payroll, utilities, rent, things of that nature, we can waive that $10,000. And if a business is not approved for the rest of the economic injury disaster loan package, they still don't have to pay back that up to $10,000. Now, an EIDL or economic injury disaster loan is available for up to $2 million to small businesses. The term can go up to 30 years, and the rate is 3.75% for businesses and 2.75% for private nonprofit organizations. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer them.
Thank you, Cynthia. I want to give folks a chance at the end to ask questions to anybody. So I'm going to ask that we hold off on questions for the time being. So,
thank you.
Yep, no problem. So up next we have Carmen Goers. Carmen is she's a vice president and commercial lending officer with Heritage Bank, supporting the Auburn and Kent markets. Carmen has 30 years of banking experience with 15 years supporting the South King County area. During her career, Carmen has been an SBA lender covering the Washington and Alaska markets for 3 years prior to returning to the Auburn area. She values the impact of small business and works diligently to provide financial services and support. So with that, Carmen, if you would like to provide us with the update from the banking perspective, we'd all appreciate it.
Sure. Well, as many of you have been working with your current lenders or banking institutions, you know that we are pressed to process these application requests. This started off with very little guidance and was actually triggered to go live before banks had the information in hand in order to make a process available. I think as the next round of funding is scheduled to be approved, we anticipate later today or early tomorrow, we will be processing the next wave of applications all the way through the weekend. For most of us, this will be our third weekend in a row working, and we are diligent in trying to process those things. What you can do with your lender that you're working with is to make sure that you have all the proper documentation and we are not required to exactly complete a calculator for you. Many banks have provided one, but the essence of the questions that I tend to get are the amount that you're approved for and how it's calculated is not necessarily how the forgiveness will work on the back end. And so right now, your payroll expenses, the 2.5 times that, the expectation that 75% will be used for payroll expenses going forward. And your time clock begins the day after funding. So theoretically, if you're in the first wave, I believe I funded my first loan last week around the 15th or 16th. That means 8 weeks begins from the 19th of April going forward for tracking of the forgiveness record keeping. At this point, we haven't been given complete description about how that forgiveness will be processed, but it will be processed directly through the lender that that approved the PPP loan with you. The next wave of funding we anticipate will go much faster than the first wave. One, there's fewer dollars being allocated, but two, most lenders are now keyed up and have a process to be more efficient about it. So that's something to be aware, to know. Your lender, if you've already applied, is probably in the queue and they're waiting for that trigger to go live, and then they'll be processing again. And we don't know who's approved until it comes back from the E-Tran. And it's really just a wait and see game. And so for many of us, once we get the confirmation that the funds are allocated at the SBA level, it comes back for documentation. What I will tell you also is that it has been a requirement of SBA under the CARES Act program that these are funded within 10 days of the SBA approval. So if you if you applied, let's say for easy numbers, on the 10th of the month, and SBA provided the approval on the 12th or the 13th, then within 10 days by the 23rd, 10 calendar days, it needs to be documented and funded to your account. And so there's a lot of press for the volume to get that through. And on behalf of all lenders, we are working diligently, and it is difficult to create a communication back and forth where everything's at. And I know most of us are trying to send emails to say where you are in the queue once we know whether it's back or in documentation. It has just been a lot of processing. So if an email works, you can shoot an email to your lender. I will also say in this new CARES package that there's an allocation for community banks versus large banks, trying to make sure that the money gets down to our very local businesses on that side. And in the processing frame in the first go around, I processed 45 of my clients, and everyone got through that sent me their applications in those first few days. And the next ones are queued up for this next round. So I will be ready for future questions.
Thank you, Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
So up next, we're going to bring on Stephen Bailey. For those of you that don't know, Stephen is Stephen is a library librarian service manager with the King County Library System, overseeing programs and services for the Auburn, Algona Pacific, and Muckleshoot Libraries since 2007. He's the past chair of the Library System Small Business Committee, currently serves on the Economic Empowerment Committee, and works with the community agencies throughout the county to promote the library's small business resources. The library system has just a wealth of information, and all of which I believe is free to those that opt to use it. So I think having Stephen on here to talk about those programs and even provide a little bit of a demonstration perhaps will bring a lot of wealth to this conversation. So Stephen.
Hey, thanks, Josh. And hello, everyone. Again, my name is Stephen. I'm a librarian with the King County Libraries. So the library system, our buildings are closed right now, but our staff is still working hard to provide books and information, learning resources, even entertainment resources for all of our patrons in King County. And small businesses are a part of our patron base as well. We exist to help support your information needs also. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of what the library system has to offer right now. And I was gonna share my screen. Let me get the right screen back up here. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna show you a few of the library's resources. I know some of you guys are on without video as well, with just on the phone. So I'll be talking through some stuff as well as showing it to you. We're going to start at the library website. That's located at kcls.org. That's King County Library System. We have a short link too, just for our small business page. It's kcls.org/biz. That's going to take you to this page, the small business resources. If you're just coming in from the main page, that looks like this. And you can see we have online resources for all kinds of audiences. I encourage you to check some of these out, especially if you have kids at home and you're trying to be their homeschool teacher suddenly. We have tutoring resources, all kinds of stuff as well. If you click on online library here and go to business and fundraising, that takes you just to our small business stuff. We have a full list of business databases here that can provide you a lot of information and tools. Let's go back to that small business resources page, and I'll walk you through a few things. One of the things we're excited about continuing to offer is access to books. We have ebooks as well as audiobooks that you can download from home. All you need is an active library card. And speaking of library cards, anybody who lives or owns property in King County is eligible for a library card, and you can sign up online. You can do that right from the webpage here. Just go to Books and More, go to Library Cards. It's free. The process is easy. You can get approved online and start using these resources immediately. I'm going to roll down on the Small Business Resources page and show you a few categories that we put together, as well as these ebooks down here. Now we have ebooks, fiction and nonfiction, across all subject categories. These are specifically business ones. We've got some finance and investing, market research, some how-to with technology. And again, these are books that you download and read on your computer, or you use an app and you can read them on a tablet or phone, on your Kindle, on your Nook or other e-reader device. We also have audiobooks as well. So for example, this is an ebook and this is the same title as an audiobook. So you can download those and listen to them while you're doing housework, while you're cutting the grass, etc. Back up to our resources page here. Under featured, again, we have that ebook business reading room, thousands and thousands of books ready for you to read immediately. In addition, we've got a lot of online learning and support options. Lynda.com is a great a great platform for video courses. It's heavy on business, web design, and IT stuff. Great way to kind of spend your time productively, learning skills that'll help your business succeed. We have another learning resource as well called Access Video. Same idea, video-based courses. We're especially excited to offer certifications as well. This might be a great option for you or for some of your employees who may be looking for extra training. We do have certifications in a number of different categories, including the Office Suite, Microsoft Office Suite, the Adobe software, as well as some others. I'll circle back around to that in a second. In addition, we have specialized databases, really powerful tools that the library buys access to and then offers back out to the community for free. These can be a wealth of information, a little tricky to use sometimes. We're also happy to make one-on-one appointments with anyone. If you wanted to get a little market research done during this time, maybe see what's happening with your industry, etc. And then lastly, I wanted to show you that we have a great partnership that we've started with the folks at SCORE. SCORE stands for the Service Corps of Retired Executives. These are seasoned business executives who have volunteered to offer their time and expertise to mentor small business owners, specifically for right now navigating this, this pandemic we find ourselves in. There, as you can see, there's a whole list of these small business consults with SCORE happening. You can click through, ignore the library here. It says Newcastle, but we have to pick a location. So these are all online, they're all virtual, and you can register. Generally, these are 1-hour sessions at predetermined times with the SCORE mentor. And again, all of this is free. This is your library working for you. Couple more things. I know I'm eating into the Q&A time here, so I want to be respectful of that. I wanted to make sure that I showed you one more thing that I heard just today, and that's our partner on the east side called Startup 425. They've just announced that they have partnered with Business Impact Northwest, another one of our great business support sponsors here, to offer one-on-one sessions as well. So it's another thing to check out. It does say located on the east side, but this partnership is available to anyone in King County. We've already checked on that. So one more place to turn if you need help navigating where you find yourself right now. Again, the library is always here to help. We also have on our website a way to contact us. You can click on the help button here, and it will show you a phone number for contacting us. We have a service called Ask KCLS where you can call us or send us an email or connect with us via chat, and we're happy to help. That's all I have for now, and I'm happy to answer questions. Thanks again, Josh.
Thank you, Stephen. And just to quickly double back on that a little bit, Stephen had mentioned Business Impact Northwest and the SCORE folks. So as some of you may or may not know, the city has been sponsoring us and operating, rather, not just sponsoring, but operating a small business incubator located in the transit station downtown. And we actually have representatives from Susan Peralta with Business Impact Northwest, and then some other folks from SCORE that actually go in there and hold office hours on a regular basis. And of course, that's all pre-COVID and will be the same post-COVID as well. But yes, those are excellent resources. So for those of you that are interested in that, the IPZ auburn.com is our IPZ website, and through there you can find information on our incubator. So, okay, moving on. So now I think what becomes the most valuable portion of these webinars, and that being the question and answer. So we've got some great folks here. Again, we've got Carmen with Heritage Bank. We've got Cynthia with the SBA, Stephen with the King County Library System, Casey with the Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce, myself and Doug with the City of Auburn. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions. And just a reminder, most of you are on mute, so if you do have a question, you're going to need to unmute yourself.
Cynthia with the SBA. Is she there?
Yep.
So yes, I am. I was muted. Sorry.
Sorry. My name is Chris. My name is Christy, and I'm with one of the small businesses down here in Auburn. And I have a question for you, and it's kind of rare. I'm one of those businesses that applied prior to the CARES Act, and I reapplied after the CARES Act, like you had said that you needed to do had you had not applied after a certain date in March.
Yes.
And I have contacted the SBA for the questions that I have. The people that I get when I call in can't answer them, and then they state that somebody will call me back. And then I have also emailed, and I haven't heard back from anybody. And I was just wondering, because mine is, what I get told every time I call in is that mine is a rare case because I was funded prior to the CARES Act. So they tell me that mine's a rare case, and they don't know how the two are associating together at this moment. And so I wait patiently, I give it a couple weeks, and then I call back. But I cannot get the answers that I'm looking for via email or phone call. And I was wondering, obviously, if I tell you my questions now, it's gonna expose a lot of personal information about me and my business.
Yeah.
To everybody on this call. But I was wondering if there's a way that you can email me or call me after the meeting so we can try to get to the bottom of that.
Yes. If you give Josh your information,
Okay.
he can email it to me, and that way we're not going to be exposing all your business.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that resource.
Oh, thank you.
I also have a question about, I recently read that the Small Business Administration had a cyber leak. How do we find out if our personal information was affected by that?
Well, they are contacting everyone who was affected. There were a little under 7,000 applicants who there was a cyber leak. And so they are contacting you and helping you with monitoring your credit and making sure that nothing got out. So you should be receiving a letter if you are one of those affected businesses.
I also have a question, kind of following up on Christy. So the 2,000 apps were essentially, quote unquote, merged with the 3,000 apps, but it pushed those, in line. So thousands of people got in front of those people that applied way early. Why were those applications not prioritized when they applied weeks before the new portal was available?
Well, we did not know that we were going to be merging anything. We have made it a priority to contact everyone who did apply and tell them that they need to reapply. But the unfortunate thing is that applications need to be processed in the order in which they're received. And so, yes, I understand the frustration. While I understand the frustration with having applied once and then having to go back and do it again and getting at the back of the line, it's the way, it's just how it has to be done right now. At least you won't need to do it again with the new appropriations. We've done our switch to the new software, and so that is a bright spot. But I can understand your frustration, and I certainly feel for you that you feel like you're getting the short shrift.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on day 39 since I applied, and I haven't had any communication. I call the SBA often to try to find out what's going on. I always get the same answers. But, it's really unfortunate for those people that are in the communities affected first that they're having to wait along with everybody who, was affected after. So that's just
absolutely.
Are these applications being processed in order that they're received after the 30th or the 29th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And some of the applications were processed prior to the switch to the new software.
Yeah, I was in review on March 24th, and then I was told to restart everything on March 30th. But, and then I just had one. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I feel bad. I wish that it had happened differently.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Do you know why there's been a sudden wave of denials for people who applied for the EIDL loan when they have good credit?
Well, what happens is when we receive the application, it's reviewed just for the emergency advance funds. That's up to $10,000 for a business. And then it goes into our processing queue. And we have been processing a lot since the lapse in funding. And there are things that may need to be addressed. Maybe there's documentation that we need, or there's a question about the business entity, things of that nature. And so they do get declined, but we send the business an email explaining the decline and what can be done to cure that. And so be sure to watch your email and be sure
it wasn't me. I'm just asking for other people. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I understand. In general, I can't answer specifics on the phone anyway, but
right.
In general, if you have been declined, you will get an email explaining the reason for the decline and what can be done to cure it. It may mean that we just need a tax return or something like that. And so keep an eye out in your email. Make sure you check your spam filters and go in there. Now, if a business has received the emergency advance funds of up to $10,000 and they are declined for a loan, they don't need to pay back the funds that they already got. That is washed.
Okay, so that $10,000 is not a grant then when we originally thought it was. So it's an advance. It's just an advance on your loan if you receive the loan, but it's not a grant. So you do have to pay that back if you receive your loan.
Well, and it depends on what you've spent the money on too. You may not need to pay it back. It is a forgivable part of the loan. And so if you have spent it on allowed items such as payroll, rent, utilities, your mortgage payment, things of that nature, then it is totally forgivable. But if it's not spent correctly, it is part of the loan.
Okay, so then I'm sorry, I just have one more question about that then. Since you can't use the EIDL and the PPP for the same expenses, how are you going to get either forgiven because those are the same things?
Well, once you have your PPP in place, the advance will be absorbed into that, and then that portion can be forgiven. But if you receive funds from the EIDL and you use it to pay, let's say, pay period 9 payroll, then you can't use PPP funds to pay for pay period 9 payroll.
Got it.
So it's very important that you keep it straight which money was spent on which items.
Okay, that makes sense. So what happens if you receive your advance after you've already received your PPP funding though?
That's something you would need to talk to your banker about. I'm not sure exactly what they can do about that. It's still very new to all of us. So
right.
I would suggest that you talk to your banker about that and say that you did receive some emergency advance funds and you want to know how it relates to the PPP.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I will stop taking up all your time, but thank you for answering my questions.
Oh, no.
I appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Carmen, are you able to add to that at all from the?
Yes. So what we have been instructing clients, because many have said they applied for the EIDL, but they had not been awarded at the point that we were funding the PPP, was to notify them that, one, that they could not use the funds for the exact same things, and that they could pay back the PPP without penalty on that $10,000 advance and reflected accordingly. We don't have clear instructions from the SBA at this point in time as to if that's acceptable, but just to let them know that it's almost a double hit, and so you may not want to spend that second part until we get further instructions. We've been living in a world of ambiguity, so. Any other questions along that line or related to the forgiveness or what banks are looking for or doing?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Yes. There were some numbers that were thrown out there. Looks like it was a batch number, either 2 or 3. Can you explain that again?
Yes, when you filed your application prior to March 29th, you were given a loan application number that began with a 2. If that's the only application number you have, then you need to complete a new application, and that is the new applications all start with the number 3. So you just need to look at the reference number that you received when you applied, and it'll tell you either a 2 or a 3.
Okay, so that wouldn't be the receipt number though, after you've completed the application. Is that correct?
Yes. After you've completed the application, it's your reference number on the application. It calls it a reference number. Otherwise, it would be called an application number if you filed it in the old system.
Okay, yeah, my number began with a 3.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Any other questions?
I have one question. And this is for the gentleman from King County Library. Do you have any database of grants that small businesses might be able to apply for right now, or do any of you know of a good resource out there?
Thanks for the question. We do have a database of grants. It's called foundation grants. And normally it's only available in the library, but during this time we've actually made it available remotely. It's a fantastic resource. I would caution you that the grants are typically for nonprofits. The number of grants available for for-profit small businesses is really limited. But yeah, worth checking out. Again, kcls.org, and then click on the online library tab and go down to databases. You're looking for foundation grants.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll also add that if you go to the city's website, we've got some buttons for different resources, and one of those buttons is financial resources, and we've separated them from state options to county options on down. So be sure to go check out the city's webpage too, because we've put a lot of time into trying to sort those out for folks that need to find some of those resources as well.
Great, thank you.
Any others?
I have another question, since if anybody else would like to speak, but I have a question. This one's kind of for Carmen and Cynthia. and it's regarding the PPP forgiveness. Is there, obviously with the $600 addition to the unemployment benefits, it's looking pretty difficult to rehire employees right now, at least getting them all back quickly. So you have to have all of your full-time employees back by June 30th, or do you have to pay them that first week that you receive the funds? Or can you slowly bring them back as long as you have all of them back by June 30th? But I'm having a hard time getting everyone back right away.
So there's two different parts to that question. So the head count, your FTE number, and again, it doesn't have to be the same people, just the number, the head count number is what they look, is one part of the calculation for forgivability. The forgiveness is based on the actual dollars spent in that 8-week period after you receive the funds. So,
okay, so no, go ahead.
So if again, for easy numbers, if you have 20 FTEs you're trying to bring back and you bring back 3 or 4 at a time and you're ramping back up or you're able to fill those positions, whatever you pay in those payroll periods is what's forgivable, along with some other lease payments, mortgage, utilities, things of that nature. But it's the actual number that you spend on it, and then a percentage of like the 100%. If you spend 100,000 and you bring back, 19 or 18 of the 20, then there's going to be some portion that may not be forgivable because you didn't get back to that 100% of that FTE number.
Okay, so is there anything, and I try to read the CARES Act and I've tried to ask other places against offering like hazard pay, a little additional pay while they're working with and being funded by the PPE? I know it's supposed to maintain wages, but can you offer a little more since they're being pulled off unemployment?
So, okay, I pulled this up so I could read it verbatim just to not be wrong about it. So it says, so the basics of it, if it's eligible payroll and related compensation expenses over an 8-week period. Forgiveness can also include money spent on business rent, mortgage, interest, and utility costs. The forgivable amount will be proportionally reduced if your company cuts full-time FTEs or reduces the pay. But the part when it talks about the payroll expenses, that includes your benefits and your benefit expenditures. So if that's a benefit that you're expending with the 401k match, as a lender, we're simply asking you to show the expenses to cover that payroll, however you disseminate that, because it includes the compensation.
Okay. Okay.
So
that's
there's not clarity on it. It just tells you the umbrella.
Okay, one more question about the PPP, and then I just had a question about the employer paid taxes. So that is not covered under the PPP, or is it? I've read both ways.
The taxes, there are taxes that are not included. Let me see if I can scroll to find those really quickly. Excluded payroll cost are qualified sick and family leave wages for which there's a credit under the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act. That's what I have as excluded payroll costs.
Okay. Okay. So we can, okay. Got it. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Carmen. And I bank with Heritage and I love it, and everyone should bank there too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And, and as things come out, we're committing to trying to really push to get information out as it becomes available. And just with the time sensitivity of it, not everything's available at the onset of this process.
Yeah, you guys, for me, you guys have been amazing. You've kept me in the loop and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Good. Tell a friend.
I always do. Thank you.
So we've got about 15 minutes remaining here. So we've still got some time for additional questions if there are any.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Christian. I'm a small business owner in the city of Auburn, and I apologize if you've already covered this. I was unfortunately late to this meeting, but I was wondering if you have any additional information about the grant, the small business program that is through Facebook that I received an email about.
So what I would do, is there additional information, specific questions you have, or are you just looking at where you need to go to be able to apply?
Well, essentially, I'm just trying to get a sense of what partnership exists between the city of Auburn and Facebook. How quickly is it estimated for applicants to be evaluated and receive that money? And are there any persons in place for the city of Auburn staff that are dedicated to sort of facilitating that relationship?
So the relationship isn't with the city of Auburn or the city of Auburn staff specifically. Facebook put out loans across the country, but centralized in those areas where Facebook exists. And so they actually look at King County as being within that area, not Seattle specific. So what we've done, knowing that is a grant program that is out there, we've taken the link for that website where you can gather information. We put that on the city's website under that financial resources button that I was talking about earlier. But there is no relationship specifically with Auburn or no agreement or anything like that.
Okay, thank you for the information.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will add is I was told by some folks that we're looking at that and even we're looking to apply the Facebook grant. If your intention, if your business involves alcohol, Facebook that automatically disqualifies you from being an applicant for or a recipient of any of their funds. Other information that I was told, I was on a webinar a couple of weeks ago where the Facebook, this was before they actually rolled it out. Some of the Facebook folks were on there as well, and they were saying that each grant would be roughly $4,000. So King County was allocated $8.5 million total. So there isn't a whole lot of available funds there. But each applicant would receive, or excuse me, each selected applicant, those that were awarded some of the grant funds, could expect the grants to be roughly have a total value of about $4,000. $2,500 of that would be cash. The other $1,500 would come in the way of Facebook ad credits. So.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, my business does not involve alcohol, so thank you.
Yep. Yeah, so again, go to the city's website. There's a button on there, financial resources. That will take you to a page where there's some drop-down menus. And if you go down to the very bottom one, it's other resources. You click on that, there will be some drop-down information. And the Facebook grant should be that very first one.
Okay, thanks, Josh.
Yep. Any others? Deborah, you have your hand up? And you are unmuted, so. Okay, well, unfortunately we can't hear Deborah. So, anyone else?
Hey, Josh, the Washington grant, or the Washington based one that we had gotten an email about a few weeks ago, do you know the timeline on that and what that consists of? The state of Washington based one?
I'm assuming you're talking about that was coming from the governor's
yes.
strategic fund?
Yes.
So last information is that I can recall, and Doug, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong.
I can maybe do that update. So
Okay.
what's happening is that They have allocated a certain amount of money per county, and then they're asking the ADO, or the area development organization that receives funding from the governor's strategic fund, to be the lead in each county to put those dollars out, receive applications, and then decide how that money is going to be given out. So they received at King County, within the first couple of 3 days, they received, the last count I heard was 20-some thousand applications. King County was going to be allocated, it was about $1 million, $1.3 million, something like that. So they're vetting those applications right now. I'm expecting to see those applications that came from the city of Auburn are going to be coming our direction to take a look at, and then be involved. They are going to allow us some involvement in the decisions made for King County. They have not come back and said that the city of Auburn is going to get 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that. We haven't heard that yet, but they are still vetting those applications at this time, and I kind of expect to start seeing some of that information tomorrow. So it's getting closer. The date that I received, because I asked this question on a administrative call for that, and when the governor's office was looking to actually see those dollars make it out on the street, because the recommendations go back to the governor's office for final decision. And I think they're talking sometime around the first week in May, they were hoping to make those determinations. So it's being worked on, it's getting closer, but there's still a couple, 3 weeks out on it. I would say that.
And then would the city notify us? Would the state notify us? Would it be via email, mail? How does that work?
It's going to be the governor's office that's probably going to do the notification, because that's where the final decision is made. It's money out of his budget. I'm guessing if it's going to be a letter or an email, I don't know. They haven't told us that. I'm sure they got your email address, so I would assume that that's going to be the quickest, cheapest way to respond to you. But,
okay, great. Thank you.
But I know they are working on them. So all these programs that have been stood up so fast, the easy part was maybe getting a dollar amount put to it. It's having the staff in place to be able to process it. That's what we hear from the top down.
Any others? Okay, well, hearing or seeing none, again, I'd like to thank our guest speakers, Carmen, Cynthia, and Stephen. Again, really appreciate your guys' time and efforts in this, and then your willingness to stick around and ask or answer some questions rather. So thanks folks. Thank you folks for joining us, and hope to see you.
Same time, same place next week.
Yep, hope to see you back next week. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you, Cheryl.